Hi everyone, I'm Jacqui and welcome back to my yoga channel. Today we're going to talk about how to use yoga blocks. You might be thinking about buying some, or maybe you have some at home already, or maybe there's some at the studio that you practice in, and every time the yoga teacher says you can use a yoga block in this pose, you're like, but how? There are literally hundreds of yoga poses that you can use yoga blocks in, but today I'm going to show you 5 of the most common ways to use them and some examples of which poses you can use them in. The first way to use a yoga block is for support and balance. So say we're in a triangle pose. We've got your legs wide, arms extended, reaching forward, and then down with the front arm while trying to keep the side nice and long. Now this is an intense stretch for the inner thighs, and it can be kind of strenuous for your core as well. So to make it easier, you can grab a block, place it on the inside of your front foot at whichever height works for you. Your hand goes onto the block and then the other one reaches up. Now this should make it a lot easier for you to find the correct alignment of the pose, to open the shoulder, to feel the stretch into your inner thighs. It just brings the floor a little bit closer up to you. What you don't want to do is place all your weight into this block, because we want to train the muscles to be able to hold the position for us so that eventually we can do the pose without the block. Another pose you can use with the block is your Uttanasana, or standing forward fold. So if you're coming forward into your fold and you need to bend the knees quite a lot, or you feel a lot of stretch into the backs of the legs and you can't quite touch the floor, grab your block and place it in front of you, and you can rest your hands onto the block at whichever height your body allows. You can do the same for balancing poses. So Warrior 3, for example, you can take 2 blocks, one on for each hand on either side of your shoulders, extend the leg behind, and then take the hands onto the block. Again, you want a nice light touch here. You don't want to put all your weight into the blocks, because then you're not actually balancing anymore on your leg and you're not training your body to do the work that it needs to do. So nice light touch, extend the leg up behind, find your position, and eventually you can come up onto fingertips, maybe take one hand off and then the other hand, and then maybe both hands, you can bring them to your side or extend them up top. So eventually you can do this pose without the block. The second way to use a yoga block is for stretching. So for example, in half pigeon pose, if we come into that, there might be a gap between your hips and the mat. So you can take a block and just slide it underneath your hips. You can sit on that while still keeping your hips square, and then that should make the pose a lot more comfortable for you. Another example is your lizard lunge. If you come forward with one leg, in order to bring the floor closer up to you, you can place the hands on the block in whichever height is most comfortable for you, even onto your elbows. As a more active way of using the block in a stretch, we can use it in a bow pose, for example. So if you come down onto your stomach, you're going to place the block underneath your stomach, kind of around your belly button area. Bend one knee, grab onto the foot, kick the foot into the hand so that your back lifts up, while you can bend the other leg and grab on with your other hand. And this just helps you to keep your body up so that you're not falling down and fighting gravity to come up. So here you can really focus on lifting the back and the chest up and the thighs up. And then another way to use it is for a seated forward fold. I find a lot of my students, when they sit on the mat, they have trouble with keeping a nice straight back and this pelvic tilt. There's always a little bend in the lower back. So you can help yourself by taking a block and sitting on top of it. So this just helps to elevate your hips and find that pelvic tilt a lot easier. So once you're here, then you can stretch forward, and it should make the pose a lot easier for you and to feel the stretch all along the backs of your thighs. And there's a common misconception that blocks are only used by people who are not flexible enough, but you can actually use the blocks to further your flexibility if you're already quite flexible. So if we take the same forward fold, if you can already touch your toes easily and you want to find more depth into the stretch, you can take the block at the end of your feet, and then you can reach forward and grab onto the block. If that's still a little bit easier, you can also grab a second block and reach even further. Another option would be to elevate your feet, taking the block down and then placing your feet on top of the block and then coming to stretch forward in that way. So the third way to use a yoga block is for activation. So if we come down into a bridge pose, placing your feet and knees hip-width distance apart, you're going to grab the block and place it in between your knees. Squeeze the knees together and then lift up into your bridge pose. As you squeeze the knees together, you're going to feel your inner thighs activate and also your glute muscles activate even more. This is also really good if you're someone that comes up into a bridge pose and tends to splay the knees out. By squeezing the block, you're going to train yourself to find the alignment of your knees and your hips. You can also use the block as an activation tool for pyramid pose, for example. So let's come into that. We've got the legs extended, the blocks are in the hands, roll the shoulders back, and then come forward into your pyramid fold. Now, with the block added into the hands, it adds more weight far away from my body, so that makes my core work even harder. What you can do is squeeze the block between your hands, so squeeze them together, and that will activate the lats and the sides of your body as well. Another thing you can add is pulse up, and this really works the upper back muscles and into the shoulders as well. So there's lots of things that you can do to make the pose even more strong for you if you're feeling like you need a little bit of a challenge. The fourth way to use a yoga block is as a massage tool. So if we come into a supportive fish pose, you're going to place the blocks in the shape of a letter T with a gap in between the two parts of the T. Lie down on your back and then use the top of the T for underneath your head. From here, open the arms wide, bend the knees, and you can just rock a little bit from side to side. You're basically using the length of the T here to massage the muscles on either side of your spine and also into your shoulder blades. If you want to feel it deeper, just lift the hips up, so there's going to be more pressure on your upper back, and you can just rock from side to side. Another way to use it is for your neck and your head. You just lay the block down, lean back, use the block underneath the base of your head, and you're just going to rock from side to side and really let the block work into the muscles of your neck here. The fifth way to use a block is for arm balances and inversions. So say you want to do a crow pose, but you have trouble getting your knees up high into your armpits. What you can do is take the block, stand on top of it, so it basically raises the floor higher for you. Place your hands forward, and then you see it's a lot easier for your knees to come into your armpits. They're basically already there. And then all you have to do is look forward and then float your legs off into your crow pose. Another way to do it is for inversions. So, for example, in dolphin pose, there's a big tendency for the arms to start to come this way, for the hands to come together and the elbows to splay out. So what you can do is place the block widthwise in front of you, make 2 L's with your hands and place the inside of the L on the corners of the blocks. Bring the elbows in, and you feel like when you do that already, the sides of your body are activating already, and that's a nice, strong, and stable position for your dolphin pose. Once you're there, keep the elbows pressing in, lift up, and then this stops the hands from wanting to come together and the elbows from wanting to splay out. So there you have it, 5 different ways to use the yoga blocks. And they really do come in a lot of different materials, sizes, and even shapes. At the end of the day, it comes down to personal preference, which one you like the best. For me, I like the cork yoga blocks the best because they are the most eco-friendly option, and I also find they're a bit more substantial, there's a bit of heft to them, so if you're using them for balancing poses, it's less likely for them to knock over compared to some of the lightweight options. And also the firmness is just right for using it as a massage tool, so it can dig into all the right places, because I do love a firm massage. So I hope this video has helped you understand a bit more about using yoga blocks in different settings. If you have any more questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section down below, and I'll wish you a happy practice.